Jordan Palmer joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show, quarterback consultant, and also a man who is crushing it right now with Thread Performance. We'll talk about that in a second. Good to see you, Jordan. How are you, sir?
Yes, sir.
I'm doing great. Doing great. Great to be on.
Well, Jordan, I need you to help a friend out, okay?
Yeah.
Because, Jordan, I listen to you when you talk. I respect you immensely. I respect your skills. I respect your knowledge. I just respect you. And so, years ago, when Joe Burrow went down and Jake Browning comes into a big-time position, you're like, he's got this. Sure enough, he had it. I mean, 4-3, looked great. So when it happened again, I'm like, I know what Jordan told me 2 years ago. It's the same guy. Different. It's just a different year. So I went on this show, and I'm like, the season's not over for the Cincinnati Bengals. Two shows later, 2 weeks later, Jordan, it's not looking too good. My take's not looking too good. I give the floor to you as somebody who knows Jake Browning and knows him well and has coached him up, knows what beats inside and ticks. What's your opinion of what we've seen the last 2 weeks, Jordan?
Well, I think this is the NFL. I think it's year to year. I think a lot of people picked the Ravens to win it all this year, not to be 1-3. And when I look at the game last night, and even going back to the game that he went in and finished in Jacksonville, it's the same guys outside, but we're seeing issues. I heard what you guys were saying before I came on, looking at the schedule and the O-line. And from my position, what I do, so I consult with guys year round on an annual basis. So if they're a starter, I'm doing videos every week on their game tape. And if they're a backup, I do it when they go in. And I had him last week at Minnesota in a bad game that was hard to watch. I kind of look at a lot of things, but one of the things I like to show guys when true is when two things were true, how many completions did you have? So when someone was open, and it doesn't have to be wide open, just somebody's open, and you have time with your drop and everything, whether it's number 1 in the progression, you had time to finish your drop, or number 3 in the progression, you had time to progress. How'd you do on those downs? And in the Minnesota game, he was 9 for 9 with a touchdown. And last night he was 13 for 17 in those situations with a drop. And so for 100 and something yards. And so when I look at, not that there's not things to clean up for everybody, but I do like to remind my client that outside of this rare case, I don't really care what social media or the media thinks. But when you have an opportunity to play well and put the ball in play, how you doing in that situation? And so that's kind of how I think I judge a guy. If people are open and we're missing them, or somebody's open and we're not seeing them because our eyes are in the wrong spot or we're getting the wrong protection, that's a different thing to solve for. But if anything, I think this is showing some holes in the game, and also just how spectacular Joe was last year to be able to play in this similar circumstance, and be a magician back there to be able to create things that don't exist. As far as moving forward, and this is just from being a player and being in the locker room. I was on a 2-14 team, and I was on a 14-2 team. And so, and a bunch of others. And, you can pay attention. If you're Zach right now, you can pay attention to all the noise, or you can sit here and go, we're 1-0 in the division, and we've got a bunch of things to clean up, and we've got 4 of our next 5 at home, as you guys pointed out. And one of those is Pittsburgh at home, who's leading the division, who I think in the preseason, everyone would have had at 4 in that division, or 3. And so I think that's still there. The pathway to the playoffs is winning the division. And I think that's what the concerns are. And they have a ton of stuff to clean up, as do the Chiefs and the Ravens and some other teams that were highly touted coming into the year.
Well, I'm glad you transitioned to the forward part, because that's where I was going to go next, and I'll still ask it, because what you're saying about, with time to drop and go through a progression, he's been terrific. That's the sort of stuff that coaches see on film, unless they're hearing too much or they're concerned about the way the season is going regardless, and might make a move for, say, somebody like Kirk Cousins, Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson. These are names over the next month that we're going to be hearing quite a bit about for teams that might be concerned about their quarterback spot. Do you think that any of those guys would be a fit? And I know we're talking about your client here, but do you think any of those guys would be a fit in Cincinnati, or just stay the course here, Jordan?
Well, I think it's why I allude to what does it look like, and what are the stats when given an opportunity to succeed? Now, I know this is football, right? The best team in the league, Josh Allen doesn't get to drop back and somebody's open and no one comes, right? There's
Right.
the defense rushes. I'm not sitting here saying, well, if they just had a perfect O-line and blocked every play, it'd be better. Yeah, well, of course, but that doesn't
Right.
exist.
Right.
But no, I think that you need to start looking at replacing a player when they're given an opportunity to succeed and don't consistently. Okay, whether that's a right guard, a quarterback, or a punter. Watching last night, to be honest. And so, if given you an opportunity to succeed and you're not, that's when I think you put a backup in or you trade for somebody at whatever the position is. And I think that's just football. That's not even like the Bengals. That's just general overgeneralization. But again, you look at it and you go, all right, so if I do my math, he's whatever that is, 24 for 26 or whatever. You know what I mean? It's pretty close to like playing good football, okay, when given an opportunity. Now, if you say that we need somebody to be able to juke four dudes and hurdle somebody and get out of bounds, then yeah, maybe you should try and trade for somebody who can do that, which is not available. But I think you need to start looking at addressing replacing a player when they've been given an opportunity to succeed and they're consistently not. And I bet behind closed doors or on air, if you ask 10 really good head coaches that, they'd probably say some version of that sentence.
Jordan Palmer here on the Rich Eisen Show. What has Josh Allen gotten so much better at than when you first found him in Buffalo that even makes you sit back and be impressed, knowing how impressive this kid's skill set and physical skill set is, Jordan?
Well, I mean, I'm not like blown away by plays that he makes anymore. I'm like one of the only people that's been watching him since he was a sophomore in college. So, he juked two dudes the other day in New Orleans. And I mean, I reposted it, but I'm not sitting here going, wow, because I've seen it a million times. I'm really impressed, with his just pursuit at getting better. And I know that sounds like cliche, like who's not trying to get better. But I can just tell you, not everybody is willing to honestly look at what they're not very good at and then just spend whatever amount of time, effort, energy, and resources it takes to get better at it. And so if the follow-up question is, what has he gotten, what has he improved at the most? Ironically, I think he's become more of a game manager. And I know that like Cam Newton and Tom Brady and these people have had these quotes where they say game manager is not a derogatory term. You have to be a great manager. I just feel like I was saying it before anybody else was, where I'm like, Tom Brady is the greatest game manager of all time, right? And so also the greatest player. And so for me, I think I've talked about it with you, there's this evolution that quarterbacks go through. So in high school, if you're a 5-star, okay, and you have a bunch of offers and you're picking between one of 25 grade schools, you're basically rewarded by your ability to make plays. Because when you try out for the Elite 11, we look at your highlight tape. When you're going to move from a 3-star to a 4-star to 5, it's your highlight tape. Okay. And so it's making plays it's a rewards-based system off of being a playmaker. And then you go to college. How do you win the Heisman? Well, everyone has their Heisman moment, right? And so it's a series of incredible plays that you've made that are backed by wins and stats as well. You can't have one without the other. And then how do you get drafted high? Well, a lot of times it's your ability, can he make every throw? Can he elevate a team? And so it's still this like rewards-based system around being a playmaker. But in my unique experience where I sit, helping people at all three levels, I do think playmaking is helpful, but you've got to be able to put the ball in play every available opportunity. Part of that is decision making, part of that is footwork and getting yourself aligned and all that. And the other part is accuracy. And so you got to be able to see the whole board and resist the temptation to make a play when it's not there. And you have to put the ball in play. And then the best players at the position in NFL, I think, put the ball in play every available opportunity and when needed can make a play. And I think honestly, that's what we're seeing with Caleb Williams is still the need and the thirst to make a play and potentially missing out on opportunities to just put the ball in play. And so with Josh, the way that that's played out from a statistical standpoint is he doesn't turn it over anymore. Like he's scoring more touchdowns than everybody, and he's kind of been doing that for a while. But now he's also like turning it over less than everybody. And I think it's not one thing that he's done, but that's the one thing that I look at where even though their defenses looked, like they're struggling at times this season, they are the only 4-0 AFC team. But like even though the defense looks like it's had holes or this didn't click or they didn't run the ball, you always have a shot if your quarterback is not going to turn it over, and has proven to be what he is, which is a guy who the game's not over until it's over, and he can come back and score a bunch of points at the end if you have to. And so I think as I look at him and love watching him play and love him as a person, I'm just really proud and love watching the game manager he's turned into, even though he still makes 4 to 8 highlight plays a game.
Jordan Palmer here on the Rich Eisen Show. Again, from afar, what do you think is going on with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams? Push-pull or coaching up based on last year potentially being a sack fest, lost year on the coaching up side of things for the first overall pick? What do you think is going on there in Chicago, Jordan?
Well, I definitely don't know the dynamics between their relationship or anything like that. I know they're very different people, but I think that's true of most of these QB head coach relationships.
Right.
I just kind of go back to evaluating Caleb coming out. And I remember I did a piece of content on it where it was like maybe the most impressive play that I saw Caleb make in college. It was unbelievable. He drops back, he looks at the hitch, it's open, and then he scans the field, and then 2 guys come after him, and he jumps over one of them, and he sprints out, changes his direction, rolls across his body, rips one like 58 yards in the air, perfectly in stride, unbelievable touchdown. And I'm watching that play, and I'm like, the hitch is open. And that's kind of in you. And we can study the playbook, and we can watch a bunch of tape of Jared Goff, and we can really drill the footwork after practice. Like, you can do all those things that are natural approaches to addressing that. But it's kind of like when you get a 7th grade quarterback who's really good, but he's just scared to get hit. That's all. You can kind of only learn how to do that in games. I don't have a drill for you. Okay. And so the evolution of Caleb Williams, whether he reaches his potential or not, I think is going to come down to his ability to what I said about Josh, is like his ability to grow as a guy who's willing to just put the ball in play. And it's almost like at a psychological level. I don't think he doesn't remember the plays. I don't think that's it. It's a real time decision that you got to make. And I've said this forever. My son is in 3rd grade and playing flag right now. He learned this lesson last week. There's certain interceptions you got to throw to learn that you can't make that throw. You can't do that. Coach can tell you all the time, don't throw it late over the middle, right? Until you throw in late over the middle and have to go make a tackle, it's hard to learn that lesson. And so I'm hoping that this season, first year with Ben Johnson, that's the evolution we see. And I'm not going to look to the stats to see if it happened. I'm not going to look to see how many yards he threw for, a completion percentage. I'm going to watch the tape and just how many times in these simple gimme throws, quick game, all that, is the ball out on time, accurately thrown, despite the ability to maybe hit the corner route or maybe get the dig behind it. And I don't blame. It's not that Caleb doesn't work hard or doesn't want to. I just think he's been such a star. I met him when he was a junior in high school. Football's been running around making plays has been so easy for him. And based off my point earlier about the evolution of a quarterback, so rewarding for him. #1 recruit in the country, Elite 11 MVP, Heisman Trophy, #1 pick. I'd say that's been a pretty good run. It's been so rewarding for him that I was hoping that last year, a tough year for him, was going to be the lesson to learn. And I'm excited to continue to watch him over the season to see if that progresses. Because if it does, this is like a top tier talent guy.
What is your opinion of Jaxson Dart's first start and expectation level moving forward here, Jordan? What are you thinking for the Giants and Giants?
The Giants is the weirdest thing to me because I hear everyone's opinions on Brain Daboll. My only experience with Brain Daboll was the first couple of years with Josh, being very involved in what was happening and what wasn't. And I just watched him take a guy who was like 56% completion percentage at Wyoming, and his first 2 years, it was still learning how to be consistently accurate with the football and learning in NFL and thrown into the wolves. And, Josh's #1 receiver his rookie year was Kelvin Benjamin. That was the #1 guy. Okay. So he did not step into a full cabinet. And I just watched those 2 guys get so good at their jobs. Josh got so much better. I mean, I'm watching practice tape, game tape, like Brain Daboll is dialing it up with randoms, with Cole Beasley and Kelvin Benjamin, right? And to watch the Giants not be successful on offense with multiple quarterbacks has just been like baffling to me, because I don't care what everybody says about him. I know I have a pretty good understanding of just how good of a coach Brain Daboll is and how brilliant he is on offense. So I've been really excited for him to get his guy in there, whoever that ends up being. It turns out it's Jaxson Dart. That's who they drafted. Jaxson was a hard eval for me coming out because he's got all this talent, this ability. He's really athletic. But at Ole Miss, he's not coming off a national title run where he has all these huge games and these big wins. So it's hard to evaluate if somebody's a winner or not. Just because they didn't win in college doesn't mean they're not going to be a winner in the league. Just because someone won in college doesn't guarantee they're going to be a winner in the league. But I'm really optimistic about this pairing between these two guys. And so far, my evaluation of Jaxson Dart is he's 1-0 as an NFL starter. And I think that's kind of all I have to go off of right now. And let's circle back in 6 weeks.
Well, I mean, and I love Daboll the same way, okay? Just any time that I've been around him, and I tell Giants fans and that the management loves him for a good reason. But now we're seeing Daniel Jones do what he's doing in Indianapolis. How do you square that circle, right? I mean, Daboll won a Coach of the Year based on the way that Jones made the playoffs with Saquon and everything else. And I understand it's a team game, but what do you say to Giants fans who are like, look at what Daniel Jones is doing now? Why should we trust Daboll, Jordan?
Yeah, I understand that concern if you're a Giants fan, and I understand how crazy Giants fans are, right? Or just New York fans in general.
Nice.
But I think what Daniel Jones is doing in Indy is less indicative of what he didn't do there. I think Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones, I would have said this before the season. Here, heads up, I got money on Daniel Jones as comeback player of the year, 100%. I put it in June. 100%. That's a perfect fit. I've known Shane since he was a quarterback coach with the Chargers. And I mean, this is the exact quarterback for them. I think Daniel Jones would be balling in Minnesota if he would have stayed right now. I think Sam Darnold would be balling in Minnesota if he stayed right now. And so what Sam Darnold's doing is less indicative of what didn't happen there. It's the right fit somewhere else and the right timing and everything around them. But I wish I had here's exactly what happened with Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll. I have no idea because it was a head scratcher because I've always thought Daniel Jones was going to be a really good player in the right situation. So I'm just surprised that it wasn't the right situation there. Not surprised the success he's having. And again, I won't be surprised if Jaxson Dart turns it on and at the end of the year starts looking like Bo Nix did last year.
All right. Before I let you go, I could see the Thread Performance packet over your right shoulder. Explain to everybody on Disney Plus, ESPN app, ESPN Radio, what it is and what they should do. Jordan?
Yeah, I've been working with quarterbacks forever, all ages, and realized a couple years ago that a lot of parents, they have their kid in the private lessons and private, your daughter's got tennis and the other guy's son's got baseball. My kids are playing flag. We spent all this effort, money, and resources on giving our kids a shot. And really there was nothing on the market for athletes that are going through puberty from a nutrition perspective. And so we came out with 3 products. It's a rocket ship. We've been in business for a year. It's all off threadperformance.com or direct to consumer. It's a subscription-based business. And it's been incredible. The feedback we've gotten from some emails from some moms about how it's changing the conversation at the kitchen table, changing their kid's body, their focus. We've got things in there for focus, energy, strength. And then in 2 weeks, we're launching hydration, which is very specifically designed for athletes going through puberty. Because I don't know if you've got teenagers, but based off our research, 70% of teenagers, their diet, over half their diet is processed foods. Okay, so if that happens, that's a lot of bad sodium. So you better be putting something in your body to counter that. Otherwise, when you drink a bunch of water, your cells aren't even going to absorb it. So we literally every product is specifically designed for athletes going through puberty. And we're a little rocket ship, man. It's been awesome. And watching, getting some feedback and watching the business grow and watching more people start to even just talk about nutrition differently in the kitchen.
Well, Susie, right now, she's no doubt tapping a text to me, if not you, saying, how can we get some for our kids? So be on the lookout, sir. Always great to chat with you and make us smarter, Jordan. We'll have you back on very soon, whenever you're free.
Thanks, Rich.
Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.